So dear students, I welcome you all for the online learning for the course Warehousing Automation. Now we are learning the course through online platform and under the series of lectures. So this particular lecture is going to discuss about the second half of chapter 1 feasibility analysis. So under unit 3 right now we are learning we learnt about the project planning in the earlier presentation, and this presentation will take you to the next topic, feasibility analysis. So what is feasibility analysis? This is the first essential part what we need to think of. Why we should do it and what is its significance with respect to warehousing automation. So these all are the contents under this particular chapter. Okay. So feasibility analysis is going to be the next particular task. Okay. So what is feasibility analysis? Okay. It is an interesting part also known as feasibility study. So feasibility analysis or feasibility study, both one and the same. Basically, it is an assessment process which is going to be done with respect to a project or some business venture to determine its practicality, viability and potential for success. So practically, will it be able to work? Will it work out and will it yield results as per our expectation? Whether it is viable, will it be economical, will we get all sorts of expected gains out of the project or not? And it informs decision about whether to proceed or modify or abandon the project. This is very important because we are in the planning phase. At the planning phase itself, we are supposed to conclude, so draw some conclusions whether the project can be proceeded and will it be successful, or we need to think of some necessary modifications. What modifications should we do so that the project does good? And the next important thing is, should we carry out the project or we can abandon the project? Because once the decision which is taken at the right time is going to be quite good. So feasibility analysis is going to work like this. So what earlier we did is we just discussed about how to go ahead with the project planning, and now it is still in the planning phase. Whether at that phase itself we are coming for a conclusion whether the project can be proceeded as such or some modification is essential, or shall we abandon the project. Okay, so these all are the three conclusions what we draw out of it. So feasibility analysis is a preliminary study. This has to be considered. It is not done somewhere at the mid of the project or somewhere at the later stage, that is mature of the project. At the preliminary case itself, before it has been practically kicked off, so we do this particular study, and whether the thing is, earlier three decisions we saw. So what is going to be the outcome? So it is going to be done at the initial case, and there are three possible outcomes are there. The first outcome is going to be go ahead with the project as it is, and the second thing is either should we modify the project, and the third case is should we abandon the project. We should come out with whatever the conclusion based on the results what we have yielded. So it assesses the likelihood of success by examining the project strength, weakness, opportunities and threat. So probably these four terms you would have heard by the term SWOT analysis. So something like that, we are going to do a SWOT part and we are going to draw conclusions. So the goal is to identify potential problems early on, minimize risks and ensure resources are allocated wisely. So judicious use of resources by all possible things, that is right from shop floor, then what are the material handling systems we use and how do we use. So these all are the three cases what we need to consider. So now what all are the components comprising this feasibility analysis is, number one, market feasibility. So market feasibility here means whether it will work or not. So we'll see everything in detail. So now we'll just go ahead with the glance. So the first feasibility is market feasibility, technical feasibility, financial feasibility, legal feasibility, operational feasibility, and finally schedule feasibility. So these all are the feasible part what we are going to analyze. So under each and every heading we are going to analyze and we are going to draw the conclusion. So first, market feasibility. So what is the objective? So we'll just go ahead in a very simple case. So objective, how are we going to do the part? First, market feasibility. So objective is to assess demand, competition and industry trends. You wanted to put down a warehouse in one particular location. So first thing is you should go ahead with what is the demand in that particular area. Whether the product what you are going to house in the warehouse, will it find market on a broader spectrum, that has to be thought of. And the second thing is competition. So what all are the nearby available warehouses you need to go ahead with? How far the competitor's business is going to affect our business, or what is their nature of business and our nature of business has to be thought of. And finally, industry trend. So because see always warehouse do not mean that it is only for domestic case, even for industrial case. So industry need, will we be able to accomplish their requirement has to be thought of. So with these all are the three objectives under which market feasibility is carried out. So how demand analysis is done means, now it is going to be a simple questionnaire, but serious questions are going to be there, and methodology of collection should be very prompt enough, because we depend on the data. So therefore the veracity of the data plays a crucial role. So is there a need for additional warehousing in the target location? Who all are the potential customers? What is the expected growth in logistics and storage demand? So these are simple questions for the case of understanding, but real world questionnaire will have lot many questions. Then the next, competitor analysis. How many existing warehouses operate in the location? Where are we proposing? What services do competitors offer, like cold storage or automated warehousing? What sort of is core competencies are, and what will be ours? If both are in same line, then we need to think of whether to proceed with the project as such or not. So when we answer questions for all these areas, it gives us very good amount of information to proceed or not to proceed. Location suitability. Proximity to highways, ports, railways, urban centers are quite crucial. Availability of laborers and logistics partners. So it is very obvious that, see, why do we find so many industries all along this Madras Bombay trunk road? The reason is connectivity. So from here, harbor is quite easy to go ahead, maybe in off late areas, so that not in the peak hours. So still it is quite feasible. As well, we have got train connection, as well as we have got air connection. So this connectivity of transportation plays a very crucial role. And next, technical feasibility. So objective for technical feasibility is determine if the warehouse can be built and operated efficiently. This is very important, and this is where our role, that is students or engineers pertaining to automation, pertaining to mechanical engineering, this is what the crucial role is. How are we going to operate the warehouse in a very efficient case? So under this particular case, the first is going to be site evaluation. Of course, it's not going to be our core area, but still we'll learn it. Land size, the topography, the soil stability and accessibility, availability of utilities. These all are the basic fundamental things, what is essential. Then design and infrastructure. Type of warehouse, general storage or cold storage or automated storage. What sort of service do we offer in the warehouse? Required equipment, racking systems, forklifts, conveyor belts. So all the physical process automation related parameters has to be thought of. WMS, that is warehouse management system, and automation feasibility has to be nicely thought of. Regulatory and environmental compliance. So today this plays a very crucial role. We need to obey all the taxonomies levied by the government then and there. It will change with respect to time. Of course, we are supposed to be highly flexible to accept and to accommodate all the possible changes. Zoning laws, building codes and environmental regulations. So zoning laws is nothing but some areas would have been prohibited to go ahead with some creation of some sound. Maybe schools might be adjacent, or somewhere some dwelling area might be there, or it might be a hospital, whatever the thing. So with respect to particular zones, there might be some regulation and restrictions should be there that we should obey. Then building codes is purely with respect to seismic conditions pertaining to civil engineering and architectural, structural, and environmental regulations. Yes, these are very crucial. Today energy efficiency plays a very crucial role. So not only energy efficiency, pertaining to environmental sustainable goals, everything. So we should go ahead to adhere all these regulations and to minimize the waste to the environment. Fire safety. So this is foremost important, irrespective to the location, irrespective to the nature of business what we do. So fire safety, ventilation and waste disposal requirements. So all these things to be properly thought of at the initial stage itself, not at the later matured stage. The next is financial feasibility. Of course, this is going to be one crucial point which can't be compromised. Of course, there might be some sort of future developments with respect to the earlier feasibility, but this feasibility, that is financial feasibility, has to be never compromised at any point of time. Objective: assess profitability, funding options, and return on investments. So this return on investments is very crucial, and that is where it is going to take us to the next level. uh, Cost estimation, land acquisition or leasing cost. How are we going to get the land? Are we going to buy, or are we going to lease the land for a period of time? Construction and fit out expenses, equipment and technology investments, operational costs like labor, utilities, maintenance, everything has to be thought of at initial stage itself. So revenue projections, rental income or service fees if leasing space, okay, that we need to thought of, that we need to think of. Cost savings if we go for some private use, that is only for us. So likewise, some sort of out of box thinking is essential for the case of revenue. What sort of revenue will we be able to yield out of the existing warehouse? Funding and return on investments, capital sources, whether we go by loan or investors or some grants. Break even analysis and payback period, this is another interesting as well as important point. Break even analysis, so it's a detailed case, but let me summarize in a very simple thing. That is, at what particular time will we be able to get out the point of money what we have invested over to it? So 10 lakhs money we have invested, let us assume. So within what duration will we be able to get the 10 lakhs? Say after some 2 years or so. So after 2 years, that is after the break even point, whatever the money we get out of it is going to be considered as profit. So till then, it is not going to be profit. So there are different mechanisms to calculate, but let us not get so deep into it. So break-even analysis means it's a point where we find either break-even quantity or break-even sales, or in short break-even point, and beyond the break-even point, whatever the money we get is going to be a profit. And payback period, yes, the duration, the same thing which is correlated. NPV, net present value. So this net present value should increase with respect to time. That is the cost of the project, that is the worthiness of the project has to be thought of. And IRR, internal rate of return. Of course, these things hover around economy, but these all are quite interesting as well as important concepts which can't be neglected. Next, legal and regulatory feasibility. This is another biggest thing which we need to focus on. Ensure compliance with laws and permits. So we should abide by the law. Of course, the local people's consent is also necessary up to a certain extent. So zoning and land use permissions, business license and tax implications, labor laws and safety regulations, OSHA, that is Occupational Safety and Health Administration, ISO standards, environmental clearances has to be thought of. So what is this zoning permission? I'll just go ahead with this particular topic to discuss a lot. See, government itself, they declare some areas as agricultural oriented area. So there you can go ahead with establishment of warehouse where the product should be something only with respect to agriculture. So there you can't go and have something else for domestic purpose or some industrial purpose. No, it is not accepted. So that is one thing. And second thing, government itself comes out with something called as SEZ, special economic zone. So there they invite applications with respect to these zones. Yes, there we can try like that. So likewise, government has their own zoning applications. So based on that, we can think of. Operational feasibility. So this is another role where it needs only mechanical or automation oriented engineers. So the first case is objective, evaluate day-to-day functionality. So how the warehouse works in a very efficient case, that has to be thought of. Labor and workforce, availability of skilled workers, forklift operators, logistics managers, training requirements, all the things should be thought of. Supply chain integration, compatibility with suppliers, transporters and distribution networks has to be thought of. Technology and automation, feasibility of implementing robotics, IoT or AI based systems has to be thought of. So All these things are not possible at day one, but we should have a proper plan that with respect to what time will we be able to incorporate all sorts of things in future. Schedule feasibility. So assess the project timeline and whether it is realistic to complete the project within given time frame. This is very, very important point. Why? Because post implementation only we start to gain, that is we start to yield revenue out of the project. If the project itself is incomplete, how will we be able to generate revenue out of it? So as per the schedule, will we be able to go ahead with this? So again, feasibility study is going to be, that is the further all the things are going to be dependent based on the schedule feasibility. Within 10 months, I will be able to finish the warehouse, means 11th month onwards it should be operational. Then only the revenue starts to inflow within the system. So the next important point, risk assessment. So risks has to be quantified. So market risks, fluctuating demand and competition, operational risk, that is equipment failure or labor shortages, financial risks, cost overruns and funding gaps, external risks, natural disasters, regulatory changes. So what is the thing to conclude here is, the main conclusions are, from the findings, the feasibility study should conclude whether you can go ahead with the project in the time. That is, the project as such it can be executed. So the warehouse is viable and it is going to be profitable with respect to time. Modify and reassess, adjust design, location or business models. Abandon, project is unfeasible due to high risks or low return on investment. Okay, so to summarize this presentation, so we discussed about the different types of feasibility analysis, what all are the feasibility part, right from finance to legal to all the cases we just discussed, and now the important case is how to implement it in the near future. For a successful case, we need to think of return on investments and the risk assessment. So that will be the further discussions. Thank you, students.